What can we expect from Formula One's return to Portugal? Hello, my name is Alex Does F1 Stuff and welcome to a pre-race review for round number 12, just had to look at my monitor there, round number 12 for the Portuguese Grand Prix around the circuit of the Algarve. So yes, it is a pre-race review like I just said for Algarve, a circuit that I don't think Formula One has been to. Formula One's been to Portugal, but I don't think it's been around Algarve, as there was no circuit data on the Formula One website about it. When I pulled this picture, there was nothing at all apart from the laps and things like that. There was nothing aside from those facts. So like with most of my pre-race reviews, we'll take a little look at the championships and exactly where we've left off. Here is the drivers. Lewis Hamilton, a comfortable 69 points in front of Valtteri Bottas, who is very close to Max Verstappen after failing to finish the race in Germany. Then there is an extremely close midfield battle with Ricciardo actually doing extremely well, having scored the most points out of anybody out of anybody in that midfield group of teams in the last 5 races. Sergio Perez is just behind, but those two have scored extremely well these past 5 races. As for the constructors, it's a waltzing win for Mercedes, easy peasy. They are clearly in front of Red Bull, who are also clearly in front of one of the closest midfield battles we've had so far, with Racing Point just in front of McLaren, just in front of Renault, who are comfortably ahead of Ferrari and AlphaTauri. But the most important thing that we look at just before the pre-race reviews is the weather, and the weather for the Algarve circuit on Friday is fairly warm, 20 degrees, however it is extremely humid, 77%, that is going to be awful to just walk in, awful, let alone drive the bloody cars in. That's going to be horrible. 40% precipitation basically means it's not going to happen in Formula One. Saturday, it's the same temperature, same humidity, even less chance of rain, so it's not going to rain in the slightest. And then Sunday, there is a bit more chance of rain. Still 40%, but 76% humidity, so it is possible that we may get some rain on Sunday. But we've said that about extremely wet races or possibilities of wet races, and they've never come. So I highly doubt it's going to rain, but we can live in hope. And just lastly, before we jump on into the reviews, the tyre selections for the Portimao Grand Prix, the Portuguese Grand Prix. It is the hardest range of tyres for Pirelli, C1, C2 and C3, which I think is a decent choice, as we've not been to the circuit before, so we don't know what the tyres are going to do. But let's head on in now to the actual reviews for this weekend, and we start with Lewis Hamilton. 91 career victories, absolutely astonishing, and he has the chance to break the record again, actually hold the record. He's equaled it, but he now has the chance to beat it, ending, I think it was a 354 race streak from Michael Schumacher from when he last had his victory. It's absolutely crazy statistic, but we'll have to wait and see. He's on good form, he might just do it. However, Valtteri Bottas, the man that could stop him, has had some decent form on new tracks. If we go back to the Nürburgring, actually, he had some very good pace, especially in practice, in the limited practice that they had, actually. And then also in the race, he seemed like he had the better of Hamilton in the new circuit. It was just one little mistake that cost him the lead, and then he ultimately retired afterwards anyway. So I personally, at the moment, feel it is advantage Bottas simply because it is a new track. But we'll have to wait and see. Then we have Max Verstappen, probably the only other man that can get in the way of the Mercedes at this current moment in time. We've seen that Mercedes have actually stopped their development of the 2020 car, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest, and they're now focusing more on 2021 to develop the car so they can hopefully stop developing that even earlier and then focus more on 2022. So we may end up seeing some actually close battles near the end of this season, but obviously by which point Mercedes would have easily wrapped it up. So I'm actually hoping that Red Bull do slightly continue developing this year's car, so we can have some close battles, whereas if they give up developing it, then we're just going to keep it what we are up until the end of the season, and it's just going to get boring again. But again, Verstappen could just get in between the two Mercedes. It would be good if he can, as that will actually provide us with some decent racing. But Alex Albon, I don't know what to say about Alex Albon anymore. He needs that Mugello momentum back, but it's gone. I think it is firmly gone. I don't know whether he's in the right mindset. I don't know whether... I don't know. I don't know about Alex Albon anymore. It's a shame seeing a quality person. I'm not necessarily going to say a quality driver because he has decent racecraft, like going for moves on the outside which sometimes go a bit badly. Picture Hamilton incidents, etc., Kvyat incidents, etc. But it's just something isn't quite working for Alex Albon, unfortunately. But hopefully, as long as he is P4, it should hopefully turn away some of that bad criticism against him. And then up next we have Daniel Ricciardo. Like I said in the intro, the man that scored the most points in the last 5 races in the midfield teams, 45, 44 or something like that. Perez is just 1 point behind and definitely the driver in the ascendancy at the minute. In the team that is probably in the ascendancy out of the whole grid as a whole. So it's looking promising. It is looking promising for Renault. Whether it's decent that he's jumped ship, I'm not 100% sure. But it is looking decent, and hopefully, I think they should aim for a podium. Definitely Q3 for both cars, and I think a podium could be on the cards if we get some more hectic racing. As for Esteban Ocon, it's a little bit like Alex Albon. He's not having the best of seasons. He's definitely not having the season that I would have first thought Esteban Ocon would have had, looking back at his Racing Point and Force India days against Sergio Perez, where they were fairly even, and now against Ricciardo, he's not there. So I have no idea how he's going to fare against Fernando Alonso, but we'll just have to wait and see, and Ocon really does need to ramp it up a little bit. And then speaking of Sergio Perez, he is up next. He is again, like Ricciardo, had a stellar couple of races and really advertising himself. And if those bloody rumours about him going to Williams are true, at least he gets to stay in the sport. But I hope to God they are not true, because it is a stupid decision. But another thing to note is Racing Point haven't actually given Perez these updates yet. And these are the updates that have been on Stroll's car, however Stroll hasn't had a decent opportunity to race with them yet, as he crashed out in Mugello, he crashed out in Russia when he had them on, so we haven't really had a proper comparison between the new update package for Racing Point and the old update package, which Sergio Perez is happily putting in decent points paying positions for. And then we have Lance Stroll. Now it came out, what was it, earlier this morning I think it was, because I'm currently recording this on the 21st on a Wednesday in the evening. And it came out that he actually had COVID. He no longer does, as lots of people assumed, oh, he's tested positive now, he's not going to be at Portugal. He was tested over the Eiffel Grand Prix when he wasn't there anyway due to an illness, which turned out to be COVID. He's since had multiple COVID tests and they've all been negative. So he no longer has it, so he will be racing, which some people have just read the headline that Stroll tests positive and they've assumed that Hülkenberg is going to be coming back. That is not the case. Perez or Stroll will be racing. If he does well, I don't know. He's had a decent season. He's had probably his best season so far this year, but I don't know how well he's going to do. And then we've got a bit of a difficult one. McLaren, with Carlos Sainz up next. He hasn't had the best of luck this year, really. It's sort of like 2019 in the first 5 races, where he just had no luck. DNFs, low point scores, and then afterwards it kicked up and he was P6, P5 in most races. Whereas now that hasn't really happened. And I don't know what's up. The car seems to be performing well. The car has performed well, especially in the first half of the season. Not necessarily now. It is a little bit shit at the minute, and I've said before that I feel Renault and McLaren have crossed paths. They've definitely crossed paths. Renault is going up and McLaren is going down. It's a shame. It is a shame, especially for Carlos, as he is moving to Ferrari next year, which isn't going to be a particularly enjoyable year, unlike these McLaren years. So he's hopefully wanting to get the best out of the performance that he can. If that didn't make any sense in the slightest. Then we have Lando Norris, and again another driver that has done exceptionally well in the past few races and overall across the entire season. When the car has been performing well, he has performed exceptionally well, and even when the car has been not so performing well, he has managed to actually drag out some decent performances. But I do feel that the McLaren will struggle. It won't be as quick as the Renault, and it will probably be on pace with the Racing Point, if not a little bit slower. I think maybe 1 or 2 cars into Q3. That's 1 car, definitely. Both cars pushing it. And then as for points, top 7, I think, for just 1 car. And then we have Pierre Gasly. Honestly, I think the driver of the season at the moment. There are a couple contenders up there, people like Norris, etc. And obviously Hamilton, obviously Verstappen and people like that. But Gasly has done exceptionally well this year. Really, really outperformed that car. But unfortunately, I don't know, he can't go anywhere. He can't go anywhere for next year, so he's going to have to stay at AlphaTauri, because I don't think there's going to be any swap with Red Bull, and I don't think that's going to happen at all. And if Red Bull decide to bring in Tsunoda, as Tsunoda has got his tests and things like that, I don't think they'll get rid of Gasly. I will find it very, what's the word I'm looking for? It will be very crap. That'll do. It'll be very crap if they do get rid of Gasly for Tsunoda next year, as Gasly has done so well this year and he's built up so much more character this year after being dropped by Red Bull, but he really, really, really needs to get out of the Red Bull program. And to this second AlphaTauri driver, Danny Kvyat. Now this is an interesting one, as he's sort of been on the same pace as Pierre Gasly over this year so far, as I've proven in my what video have I called it? Comparing the race pace of each driver so far against their teammate. Whenever they've been finishing together, they've both been in front the same distance. The video explains it better than I do now. It's just unfortunate that the results don't quite show it for Danny, but in Russia he had an exceptional race. In Germany it was ruined, so we couldn't really see how well that was going to do. So this race, I feel like it's another good chance for him to get back at Gasly. Then we have Ferrari. Now Leclerc is another driver that is up for that driver of the season role at the moment. He is seriously outperforming that Ferrari. It is a dog of a car, and he manages to put it in like P7, P6, P5, and sometimes the podiums if it is possible. And honestly, this is his best ever year. I know he won a couple of times last year and had loads of pole positions, the most out of anybody, but my god, this year has been so much better for him. Character building, learning about a car that isn't so good, and extracting everything possible out of it. However, on the flip side, we have Sebastian Vettel, a driver who I don't want to say is struggling, but a driver who is probably fed up with Ferrari and Ferrari fed up with him. And I'd have thought that after announcing his Racing Point or Aston Martin deal for next year, that he'd have actually had a new lease of life. However, that hasn't quite turned up. It didn't really happen in Germany, so hopefully in Portugal it can actually happen and he will have a slight turn in pace, which will be decent. It will be decent for him. He needs to end this season on a high, otherwise he's not necessarily going to go into Aston Martin on a high. He'll have to then build that back up. Then we have the Haas pair, and we start with Romain Grosjean, who finally has some points, but I think it's done. I don't want to see Grosjean next year, really. This year has been abysmal. He's been behind the Alfa Romeos, he's been behind Magnussen, he's been behind the Williams on pretty much every single bloody occasion, apart from 2 weeks ago. And he does need to go. If the rumours are true that Mazepin is coming in, so be it. I don't really want to see Grosjean back. That's not being harsh. He's had his time. He's not progressing. He's not showing any signs of getting any better. And as for Magnussen, on the other side of the Haas garage, I actually really like this photo. This is a very decent photo. One of my photos of the year so far. But anyway, aside from that, Magnussen has done very well this season. But again, does it warrant staying for next year? I don't know. I feel that they need to both go. They both need to go, which will free up some seats for next year. Bring in, who was going to test for, was it Ilott that was going to test for Haas? And then obviously didn't, because Schumacher was then going to test for Alfa Romeo and didn't in Germany. So yeah, bring up Ilott, bring up Mazepin if Mazepin wants to buy his way into a seat, go for it. But yeah, I feel both of them are definitely past their time and just want to hammer home some decent performances in the last few races. Then we've got Giovinazzi. I don't know. Giovinazzi, I'm going to couple with Grosjean and Magnussen. Had his time and hasn't again shown any signs of improvement. He's not a Leclerc. Like when Leclerc came into Sauber, he's just not showing any signs of promise. It's disappointing, I know, but again, he should drop out or maybe continue on into next year, I don't know. And then make space for some newer drivers. As for what's going to happen in Portimao, the car's going to struggle. There's that long-ass straight. There's a couple of fast swoopy corners which the car doesn't suit in the slightest, and he's going to struggle. And then we've got Kimi Räikkönen. Now this has sort of turned into like who should stay for next year, who should not stay for next year, rather than a pre-race review. But like I've just said, the Alfa Romeo will struggle, and I feel Räikkönen needs to stay for next year, because if they get a rookie and they drop Räikkönen for that rookie, they're going to have two young drivers, Giovinazzi and a rookie, in the car, which aren't going to progress the team forward. You need a figure like Räikkönen in the team with a rookie to mentor, and then that pushes the team upwards. That's why Williams worked really well when it was Massa and Stroll. And then perhaps why Williams ended up having a bit of a downfall when they lost Massa and they brought in rookie after rookie after rookie after rookie. And speaking of Williams, we move into George Russell. These rumours about him being swapped for Perez, that is honestly, that is the shittiest move possible. If Dorilton Capital are seriously serious about Formula 1, they will not do this. If they just want a return on their money that they've invested into Formula 1, which, if they do, why the hell are you investing in Formula 1 in the first place? You're just going to lose money unless you're Mercedes or Ferrari or Red Bull. It's just, if they do, they're just in it for the money and in it for completely the wrong reasons. George Russell is performing extremely well. He's missed 2 points chances so far this year, which, through no fault of his own, I'll admit, but it's just disappointing to see, and he needs to have next year, or maybe get out of the contract somehow and somehow get into Mercedes. Maybe Lewis Hamilton retires at the end of this year. He still doesn't have a contract either. But if they swap Perez with Russell and Russell is then left out of the sport, that is shit. And then finally, Nicholas Latifi. Again, another driver who's just shown nothing. No promise, no excellence, no nothing. In the times where Russell hasn't been there, and in the times where the grid has only been 12 cars, 13 cars at the end of the checkered flag, he's been last of those many cars, which isn't where you want to be. You want to be at least 9th or 8th in those situations, which George Russell would have been had something not happened. So yes, he's going to struggle, and I don't think he'll progress very far through the weekend, and I don't know how well he's going to do during the race. But that is the end of my pre-race review, which sort of turned into a drivery sort of thing at the end. I'm not 100% sure what it turned into, to be honest. I'll look back in the edit and see how it works. But that is all I've got for you today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next episode with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.